Everyone who's played Gen 1 has had the experience of facing the wall that is Brock in the early game. First, you face off against the Geodude, pretty muscular, pretty cool looking, hits pretty hard, but is also pretty limited. And then you fight Onix, a very menacing monster snake creature that maybe you realize only has defense and isn't very good otherwise. So it's no doubt that Brock is a very formidable early game wall for lots of Pokemon. But when I started to think about it, I thought to myself, is the order right? Because Geodude actually attacks much harder, and Onix is surprisingly inept for a fully evolved Pokemon. So, Scott, today what I'd like to do is explore, did Brock have it right? Did he choose the correct ace? What do you think about Geodude and Onix when you see them kind of paired up together in this grudge match?
I don't think it's obvious which one is better. I think that Onix has more tools, but I think that Geodude, maybe people might not know this, but Geodude actually has 35 more base attack when compared with Onix. So it is lacking in the defense department and especially the speed department. But since its attack is higher, I kind of feel like Geodude is going to do a lot better than people would expect. And as we all know, Onix is not very good offensively, but it does have speed on its side, so that combined with bind, I think might give it a small edge overall in this matchup. So right now I think that Brock chose the right ace, but only just slightly.
Yeah, one thing that I think really makes this an interesting match is, like you said, the attack stat for Geodude, right? 80 attack versus, is it 40 attack for Onix? It's really bad. I remember it has the same attack
45.
stat as Pidgey. 45. Okay. So attack is really important in a speed run, right? Because it's not only can you win the fight, but it's can you do it quickly. And in this kind of a format, I think that benefits Geodude more than perhaps competitive.
Definitely. And a move like Bind, because it does hit multiple turns in a row until you either miss or the enemy outspeeds, which is probably not going to be the case against Onix in a lot of the battles for this playthrough. Even though Bind is very good, it's incredibly slow. I remember using it and Wrap when I was a kid, and after clicking them like once, I was way too impatient to ever choose those moves again. So
yeah,
even though Bind does solve problems, you're losing a bunch of time every time you use it.
So I think we're going to see an interesting dynamic at play where with Geodude's worse stats, it's going to have to do a little bit more training, but with its higher attack stat, that training is going to happen faster. So I think we've got a fun dynamic at play here. And I want to mention before we go too far down here, as we see Geodude training, I fought Rival 1A on minimum battles, which is something that rock types actually have the should I say benefit or option to do that many Pokemon don't realistically have an option to do, which is without backtracking, you can fight Rival 1A if you want.
Yeah, a lot of Pokemon, if you try it, you just instantly lose and then you basically restart the playthrough. Some Pokemon that aren't rock types, like I think it's Weezing, I ended up fighting Rival 1A, or it was Muck, it was one of the poison types, because they're a little bit bulkier and they have pretty good moves early into the game. Geodude has no problems with that fight, as I saw when you fought him. I did want to mention, though, it wasn't quite minimum battles because you did knock out one wild encounter before you fought him.
That's true. It was a bit incidental. You're right. If I didn't hit an encounter there, it's totally fine. I wouldn't have had to fight it, but technically correct, Scott. Very good. And you know what they say about technically correct? That's the best kind of correct.
Yeah. I'm protecting you from the comments. But
thank you.
I also assume that it's because you do need to do a little bit of wild training with Geodude in the early game to prepare for Brock. Yeah, and there's actually two interesting options here. One is to go to level 15 for decent ranges against Brock. The other is to just go ahead and train that one extra level to 16 for Rock Throw to make Brock even easier. Knowing what you know about me, you'd probably think I went for the risky level 15 strat, but this time I actually didn't. I went 16. I went safer and more reliable. What made you make that choice?
So there's, I guess, two reasons. One of them is a better reason than the other one objectively. One is a little bit of an emotional reason, which is just I didn't feel like grinding for Brock over and over again.
Yep.
The other reason is that we're the medium slow growth rate. So while it is a little painful to train that extra level from 15 to 16, it's not as painful as it would be with other growth rates because we are still leveling up relatively quickly. And then I guess I lied. I said there were 2 reasons. There's maybe 3 reasons. The third reason is that the chances at level 15 are about a coin flip. It's 50-50, which honestly, if I was to go back and run Geodude again and try to improve on this time, I would go for the level 15 strategy. However, when you're learning a Pokemon and you're trying to get great results up pretty quickly, I think it benefits a lot to go for the consistent Brock, get into a run every single time, and at least get to Misty before the run dies. I think it's very valuable to get that experience of running it multiple times because you just play the whole rest of the playthrough better.
Yeah, I agree. I also think that there is something to be said about the way in which a Pokemon beats Brock. If it has a risky Brock, but the battle goes very quickly, you could potentially reset to him at level 15. But if Geodude's fighting Brock, it's going to be with Tackle. It's going to be an incredibly long battle. And so you don't want to take a reset. You might as well just train to 16 if you're going to take one reset to Brock or a blackout. Or restart the entire playthrough and do this awful grind all over again.
Yeah, so the trade-off is about 1 minute and how fast you get to Brock, right? So if you're going level 15 versus level 16, you start the fight about 1 minute faster. But if you have Rock Throw, the fight goes about 15 seconds faster. So that delta is really only about 45 seconds. So that's about the trade-off. You're paying about 45 seconds for a more consistent early game. And what does that buy you? Well, it actually buys you quite a lot because if every time you queue up the to play another round, you can play multiple playthroughs without having to restart a Brock over and over again. You get deeper into playthroughs, you start playing more succinctly, and you also get to roll the dice at Misty more often. You get to have better Mega Punch luck. So there's all kinds of RNG outside of the Brock fight that also comes into play that people oftentimes, I think, neglect.
Yeah, I think we really figured out during the Mew race that obsessing over an incredible Brock split is not always the best short-term way to push results lower. In the long term, obviously, you want to get the best possible Brock split, get the best possible split in every portion of the game. But when you have limited time, it doesn't always make sense to just obsess over getting a 15 to 30 second faster Brock split, because learning the late game is very important as well.
Yep. Fun little thing I want to mention there is that I don't need full tackle PP. I was able to just heal with a potion because Geodude takes so little damage being a rock type training against those Pokemon in the forest. I was able to just use a potion and then escape rope out, skip the heal and fight here. And then here I am going to use defense curls during bide and try to land rock throws when I know it's going to be a guaranteed releasing the bide turn. So it won't be reflected back at me.
Yeah, that's an advantage here of underspeeding the Onix. So Geodude's low speed stat is actually, it's allowing you to play around bide in a different way to do a lot of damage with Rock Throw.
Yeah, it's better to be faster, but as I go down to 1 health.
Oh. Gosh.
Yeah, it's usually not quite that sketchy. Rock Throw really didn't do me any favors there, but hey, we got through. 1 health is all you need.
Yeah, win's a win. And now you have Rock Throw and you're level 16. Does the level 15 strategy on Brock do more optional trainers in the next section of the game to make up for the level? Because
you'd have to fight
a critical
one more
threshold
optional.
For Misty. One more optional, okay.
Yeah, sorry to step over you. One more optional to get to Misty, exactly. And also, you'd only have tackle for the first bug on that team. So you'd have to tackle through the first bug before you got to 16 for Rock Throw. So you add all those factors together, and yeah, you're probably paying back about 30 of the 60 seconds you gain. So it would be faster to go for the 15 strategy, but maybe not as much faster as you would think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Rock Throw is really nice on this route. It's unfortunate that it only has 65% accuracy in Generation 1. They did change this in Generation 2 to be 90% accuracy. So if you're looking at the overlay and seeing 65%, no, that is real.
Yeah.
This move is just terrible in Gen 1.
And the nightmare scenario is if you're using Rock Throws against that last Metapod, miss 3 or 4 times, it's set up to +4 defense, and then you have to tackle your way through it.
Yeah.
But thankfully that didn't happen.
stuff like that has happened to me before.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
it happens.
So Mega Punch. Better than Rock Throw in terms of effective power, because Rock Throw is only 75.
Yep.
So Mega Punch slightly better, but 20% more accuracy. I can't believe I'm saying it's a relief to have Mega Punch.
It is. It is. It really is. You appreciate Mega Punch a lot when you start off with Rock Throw and Tackle. Look at that. Just one shots the Voltorb. You weren't even that worried about it missing lots of times.
I think Gym Leader Matt said something really interesting about sections of the game where you are using a lot of Mega Punch, especially with Mew. You're kind of on rails, and you can't really improve your time. The only thing that can happen is you can lose time. So every time you lose, you miss a Mega Punch, you're just losing a small amount of time. So obviously we want to have the least possible number of misses throughout this section of the game.
Got the rare critical hit there to make up for the attack drop, so I still knocked out the Coughing in 2 hits. Crit rate, by the way, is lower in Gen 1 than Gen 2 for Geodude.
Yeah, it's like 3.91%. Pretty infrequent.
Yeah. We should probably talk about Geodude's speed stat, because we're going to be underspeeding a lot of things that are usually not in play. For instance, we're underspeeding the Spearow. We do outspeed the Sandshrew, but we're going to be actually underspeeding more Pokemon than we're outspeeding in this section of the game.
Luckily, there's a bunch of normal types in this fight, so as a rock type, this rival is pretty incompetent. He can only slow you down and get annoying with Sand Attack. I guess you could run out of PP, but it's pretty unlikely. At least this isn't Red and Blue, where you would have maybe a Bulbasaur or a Squirtle during that fight, which could make things much more difficult for Geodude.
Right, but it can cause time bleeds. Like, before when I ran this, I was running into problems where I actually was running out of all my PP of Mega Punch and Rock Throw. And rather than wanting to tackle my way through the bridge, I made that adjustment, which you just saw, which is after I fought the rival, I just immediately backtracked and healed after the rival fight to make sure that I have enough PP to get through the rest of this section.
Yeah, I think this is a really good adjustment. If you have a particularly slow rival because of Sand Attack or Growl, going back to the center first makes a lot more sense than walking all the way, beating the rocket, maybe going a little bit further, and then walking all the way back to the center.
Yep, and don't forget at the end of this stretch, we're going to have to knock out, and we're getting Sand Attack to death here too, and now Growled. So you can see how you waste a lot of PP in this section, even with an 85% accurate move. You get, what, -2 defense accuracy, and we're at 42%. It's getting sketchy here.
This looks really bad.
Double Kick is super effective. And we get another crit.
Amazing.
But still, that was a huge time bleed, and we have to go back to the center. And this is a disadvantage of being so slow, right? Most Pokemon don't have to worry about that Pidgey, but I think we undersped or speed tied that Pidgey, and it Sand attacked us, and things went south, and sometimes that happens.
Yeah. I assume that you are not going to restart the entire playthrough at any point during this section of the game. You'll just take the time losses, walk back to the center, that sort of thing, because you really want to roll the dice against Misty to see what happens. How many resets against her do you think is acceptable for this run? Or how many were you accepting for this run?
Like single digits. Anything single digits is fine, honestly. Misty is that bad. If I got 10 plus resets, then I'd probably just restart the whole playthrough, but Misty really is that horrible. Should we talk about Misty now? I think we should go ahead and start to talk about it.
I think so, yeah.
We cannot outspeed the Staryu. Not the Starmie. That's a given. The Staryu. We can't outspeed it. We just can't. I looked in the router and I started adding candies. And so we're getting to ignore stat experience for a second. But with a normal amount of stat experience that you'd have by the time we get to Misty, plus 10 rare candies, we speed tie the Staryu at level 38.
Yeah.
So we just can't do
39. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we're not going to do that. So what we need to do is level to the point. Remember, we have good attack, right? And we're getting the Dig TM soon, which is going to hit for 150 effective power because it's a stab move, right? So once we have Dig, we're going to be hitting for massive damage. It's just a matter of getting those attacks off. What we're going to have to look for is a X defend, 25% chance on the Staryu on turn 1 so that we don't get hit at all. Go underground and then have the damage we need to one-shot through the X defend.
Yes.
And then
so I'm seeing level 28.
Same thing for Starmie, basically.
Yeah, that's rough. The damage from Bubble Beam on the Starmie is definitely going to knock out Geodude, but is there a threshold where you start surviving the water gun?
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to have a range to survive one water gun, and we're going to have to two hit. Unless we get a crit, but we can't roll the dice on a crit because, as we've established, it's like under 4% to crit.
Yep. I like that you get rid of Rock Throw.
Yeah. I was going to mention, like, you'd think that maybe Rock Throw would be useful for something here, but Tackle is actually more useful because we can use it for Doduo later, and it's more accurate in case we need chip damage. So Tackle is the more useful move because we don't need the damage from Rock Throw for these Pidgeys on Sandy's team, or for the Spearow on the Rivals team. We can just use Mega Punch.
Yeah. And obviously we want to keep Defense Curl for badge boosts later into the playthrough. Geodude does learn Harden, I think, at level 26. So you could replace Defense Curl with that and keep Rock Throw for a little bit longer, but I don't really like I don't like those kind of like switcheroos on movesets if they're not absolutely required, because then there's always the chance that you accidentally teach it over Defense Curl, like when you're learning Harden, you teach it over something like Dig, something that would be useful, and then you have to restart.
Uh-oh, Scott, did you watch these already? Because there's a moment later where we accidentally overwrite a move with Onix. Anyway, we'll get there later.
Yeah. I just know from my experience playing Gen 1 that, like, every time I'm editing the moveset, there's a chance that something is going to go disastrously wrong, so I have to be very careful.
Definitely.
Body Slam, great replacement for Mega Punch. And then Harden in the place of Defense Curl.
Here's the thing, though, Scott. It's a speed run, so we have to be very careful, and we have to be very fast. And those two things don't play together nicely.
They don't, no. Yeah, whenever you get careful, we observed this at the end of the Mew race, where like all of the solo running community was playing so careful by the end of the game, and Exarian was just still speed running the game right up to the end, making choices that were very, very fast. Like Harden, for example, in the place of Defense Curl, Harden prints less text, so it's slightly faster than Defense Curl.
I don't know if you've seen, Scott, but I've been chasing down that Exarian Mew race record. Have you seen that in your Discord?
I have. Some people mentioned it to me.
Yeah, well, that might be a future video down the line at some point.
That's exciting.
Just to see how much I've improved since the Mew race.
It's been significant amount of time.
I saved there, by the way.
Speeds.
Yeah, because that Staryu crits pretty often. It's pretty fast. So you have to just save before that fight.
Yeah, just so everyone's aware, that Staryu has the same speed as Misty's.
Yeah. Yeah, same level. So it's like basically the same Staryu.
Yep.
We have to survive that bubble, but then this shelter is locked into withdrawal, so it's not very scary, and the Tentacle doesn't have a water move. So as long as you get past that first Pokemon, you might think that's a weird choice to fight that particular optional, but we're already in that area of the boat, and that Sailor actually gives pretty good experience yields. So this is lining us up to get to level 28 for Misty after we fight the Goldeen trainer.
Are you going to skip Surge?
No.
No? Okay, you're getting the bike first, though. Interesting.
Yeah, so I can bike
Makes
back.
sense.
I'm not actually sure if it's faster. I think it might be. It's pretty close.
Yeah, getting from Cerulean to Vermilion is not too far. The time commitment between those two locations is not outrageous. So 28.
Yep.
Okay, what's the Misty strat? Oh, you just gotta X defense on both of our Pokemon. That's what we're really looking for.
We really want an X defend on the Staryu, especially because we're always one-shotting it. We do have a path against the Starmie even if we're injured, but we have to switch to Body Slam. So the path for beating Misty's Starmie if we're already injured, okay, that's never going to work if we get crit. The path is Body Slam into X defend, and we get the paralysis so we can move a second time and dig. That's what we're looking for if we take damage against the Staryu.
Makes sense.
Hmm.
You're being very quick too with the resets as soon as you see that it moves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we manage to knock out the Staryu on full health, like if she uses the X defend, if we gotten the paralysis there, we would have had it.
Close.
It's actually a range for Dig against Starmie if there's no X defend. If X defend happens, it's not a range, but it is a range if X defend happens. So we're gonna roll the dice with Dig if we're on full health and just hope for a water gun that we survive.
Yeah.
None of these are good
messy.
odds. These are all messy.
Yeah,
That's why I said single digit resets is good. Okay, full health.
Oh, that's good.
We survived and we hit the range.
Nice. By the way, 45.8% chance to one hit with Dig there if it doesn't get the X defend.
Yeah, it's not great.
But you got it. And only
We
5
got
resets.
Yeah. Good result, honestly. Like, this is a big win. You might look at 5 resets and say, oh, isn't that messy? Consider how long I would have had to take to level to make that fight consistent. And then 5 resets starts to sound like a total bargain.
Yeah, true.
Now we can go fight Search.
I noticed your excellent use of cut there.
Yeah.
Trying to cut with the Charmander, then reopening the bag, teaching it, then opening the bag again, and the cursor not being in the place you want it to be.
Yeah. So an interesting thing happens when you've done repeated runs, which is you start to know where everything is in your bag, but occasionally that backfires. So what happened here is I ran out of potions. Typically I had 1 or 2 potions left, and I was able to use that potion slot, move it down to where the bike was, discard my 1 or 2 potions left, reset my bag. Everything's in order. This time I actually used all of the potions in my bag because I took a little more damage than usual. And that threw everything off a little bit. And that's why you saw me fumbling around. It looks like a lack of practice, but it's actually almost worse than that because it's me thinking I know where I am, where I'm not. I was not quite right.
Yeah, I think if anyone has experience with music and performing live on stage, this is kind of similar to like you just have like a moment where like your brain, something's not working quite correctly, and then you miss a note or you play the wrong chord or the wrong note, and then it's sort of like everything downstream from that mistake gets a little bit messed up, and it can be quite challenging to recover the performance from that moment. And that happens here too in solo runs. I think that the bag is the case where that happens most often. It can also sometimes happen if you hit a trainer that you weren't supposed to hit, especially in Generation 1, because that can shift where you level up, which really can ruin badge boosts. Just in case anyone doesn't know, badge boosts in Gen 1 are cleared whenever a Pokemon levels up during battle. They are reset to the default badge boosts that are supposed to be in the game, but the badge boosts compound on top of themselves prior to that. And I assume that with Geodude, and probably Onix as well, both of them are going to have quite precise planning around badge boosts throughout this run.
Yes, indeed. Now, for Geodude specifically, it's mostly going to be about speed. For Onix, it's going to be more about damage. So they have different primary reasons for wanting the badge boost, but the badge boost is super important for both of them. So what we're going to see for Geodude is that most of the time we really need the key outspeed against the lead Pokemon. That's typically what we need. And then we'll find a place to set up where we actually get outspeeds with badge boosts on the rest of the team.
Okay, that makes sense.
Body Slam's gone, by the way, already.
Yeah. This might shock people, but it does not shock me because Rock Slide and Earthquake have neutral coverage against everything else in the game from here. They are a fantastic combination. The only time that really falls apart is when you start getting Pokemon like Bronzong, one of my favorite Pokemon, which then can have Levitate, and after that you have to suffer.
What's Bronzong, Scott? Is that a Pokemon?
Yeah, yes, it's the worst Pokemon in the series. I hate this Pokemon. But it doesn't exist in Gen 1, so you don't have to worry about it.
Good news. Excellent news.
Yeah. I think it's interesting to hold both Earthquake and Dig on your set.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times people will be confused about that as well, since they have the same base power and Dig just wastes time. But Dig is very helpful later into the game, especially against Lorelei's Dugong.
Correct.
And
we will be
you are going to
utilizing
make use of that. Yeah.
Yes. Dugong has a 52% chance to use Rest on turn 2. So crucially, we will be training and using Carbos to the point where we can outspeed the Dugong and use Dig to 52% of the time take no damage to it. And that's going to be very important. And also to be able to set up a couple of Hardens. Also very important for damage ranges in the rest of that fight.
Nice.
We pick up Carbos there, which shouldn't be surprising. But we're also going to come back later for more Carbos because we need to spend some money on potions, repels, great balls.
Yep.
And by the way, I don't know if you've talked about this much, Scott, but you used to do the thing where you'd go into like Rocket Hideout, explore a lot, pick up a ton of items, stuff like that. I found it to be the case for the most part with these Pokemon that need a ton of vitamins, that it's more cost efficient to just come back later when you have the money organically from having fought trainers rather than spending time scavenging for items.
Yeah, I think that probably makes sense. Are you going to get the rare candy from Rocket Hideout?
Yes. And from the power plant. We need a lot of training for Geodude. We need
power plant candy
yeah.
is the candy that you don't want to get, by the way, for everyone.
Right. And we can't even learn Thunder either. That's the real tragedy of all this.
Okay, tell me about this fight.
This fight is totally fine if you're fighting against Flareon. However, oh my gosh, it can be very scary. And you see that Shelter, how it just kind of used Withdrawal and that was all cool.
Yep.
This can go disastrously badly if it uses Clamp. You might say, Clamp? David, that Shelter doesn't have Clamp. Yes, it does. It's one level higher if you fight against the Jolteon team at this stage in the game than it is for the Flareon team. And that one level is when Shelter learns Clamp. So it may have looked like, ho-hum, we just defeated the rival there. It chose Withdrawal. If it had chosen Clamp, it would have deleted us.
Yeah. It's kind of weird, but the Pokemon in his second slot is level 23. And the Pokemon in his third slot is level 22. And Shelter changes slots depending on if it's on the Jolteon team or the Flareon team, which gives it Clamp. So it's really common to see it with no Clamp, and it just goes for Withdraw, and you're like, wow, this thing is useless. So I'm sure you got jump scared. You switched to the Jolteon team and then got destroyed by Clamp one time.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And the funny thing is that you will one-shot the Shelter with Earthquake because we have a massive attack stat plus 150 base power move. Like, you combine those together, and we're one-shotting the Pokemon unless we get growled. And in this case, we did get growled. And that happened to be before, too. So it seems like for whatever reason, the Fearow is liking the 1 out of 4 chance to growl on turn 1. To give Shelter the opportunity. But this time, thankfully, it dropped the ball.
Yeah, it's always good when the Shelter drops the ball. I guess it could miss with Clamp as well, but
yeah,
you just don't want it to go for Clamp if you can avoid it. I assume the Jolteon team is easier for some reason then? Like, there's a reason why you're going for it, or is it just the experience for Brock?
So it's the experience for Brock, but it's also a really fun reason, which is when I was fighting only wilds, I was actually hitting too much stat experience where the 5th Carbos that I wanted to use was no longer working. Like, I hit over the threshold. So this is such a fun kind of niche strategy, but this is why I decided to fight against Jolteon to begin with. I didn't even look at it until I was getting frustrated with my routing. I couldn't quite make the money work or the timing work, where by the time I had money to buy 5 Carbos, I was not being able to use the 5th one, and I needed all 5 or else I needed to train an extra level. And when you're level 70 or something for the finish, every level is extremely painful. It's like 45-second endeavor, or maybe even a minute to get an extra level. And that's when I landed on slightly less stat experience by fighting rival 1A's Pokemon instead of wilds for that same raw experience. Allows everything to work out. It's kind of a beautiful picture.
That's awesome. I love when there's like some weird little interaction like that lets you get an advantage. And just in case anyone is confused about how the mechanics work, in Generation 1 and 2, because the system is stat experience and not EVs, if you use a vitamin right before you hit the threshold, the full amount of the vitamin is still applied to your stat experience. Whereas starting in Generation 3, if you use, say, a Carbos at 99 speed EVs, it's only going to give you 1 speed EV instead of giving you 10.
Yes. I'd like to note here, by the way, this is kind of off on a tangent here, but it is quite nice that we learned Earthquake by level up. Most Pokemon don't have this luxury. They have to do a partial Sylph to go in and fight the Machoke trainer first in order to grab the Earthquake TM and then do training. Because we learned it by level up, we didn't have to go get forced into that pattern. We were able to go fight the bikers first. And even though it is a little annoying that we're not quite the level we'd want to be to block all of the Nidorans here, it is still net better to take this path because it's super annoying to get 3.
Sorry,
but
I can't believe that we're talking about blocking Nidorans, but this is great. Yeah,
it's annoying, but it is really nice that we didn't have to backtrack here, because in Sylph there's going to be a lot of Pokemon which outspeed us or speed tie us, and getting the training experience from Biker Boss and the Wheezing duo there at the beginning, that's really going to help us with these speed stats when we train in Sylph.
Got it. And you're going to do extended training here.
We're going to have to, because we're going for a high finish level, and the mid game is where we get the most efficient leveling, basically, right? We don't want to use rare candies yet, so it makes sense to get our levels here in Sylph.
So I'm starting to think like a Gen 3 and 4 player now. Are you fighting this guy because of his speed stat experience yields?
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
He gives 2,400 experience on the dot. That's why I'm fighting him. So I'm fighting basically every trainer that gives around like 2,100 or more, something like that, right? If it's a pretty good trainer, I'm fighting him. Yeah. By the way, I think we undersped that Magneton. Like, that's what we're talking about here. Pokemon that you never underspeed, Geodude is underspeeding.
I don't even think I've ever thought about that Magneton's speed stat.
Yeah, we're slower.
Yeah, you are. Wow.
I mean, it doesn't matter because it can't really do much to us. Like, Sonic Boom is probably the worst thing it could do to us. But still, it's kind of crazy, right? And it does matter because if you're going slower than Pokemon, some of them have statuses that they can mess you up with, but others will just make a move, and that takes time, right? So lining things up so that we can outspeed as many things as possible is helpful. That Magneton also outspeeds us.
Yeah. Did you Gen 1 miss on that Magneton on turn 1?
I think so.
Because it
Rewind the
tackled
tape.
Twice. Yeah. What? Like, how did it tackle twice? Also, you underspeed 2 of these Pokemon, the Voltorb and the Magneton. Like, it's ridiculous. Oh, self-destruct. I guess it saves your PP. That's nice.
Yes, sometimes you outspeed that Voltorb, but sometimes you underspeed the Voltorb, but you never underspeed the Magneton on this team. Like, it's so silly. It's not like we're underleveled. We were 13 levels higher than that Magneton that we undersped.
Yeah. I don't think people really recognize. There's a little bit of a temporal distortion that happens when watching these runs. It can seem like the overworld is taking a long amount of time and the battles are quite short. So like, what is just adding one more turn? But adding one more turn is very significant. You really notice this when you play a Pokemon like Snorlax or Slowbro, which are very good Pokemon, but then they don't get really exceptional speedrun, solo run times. Like they get good times, but they're not like the best of the best. And they're bleeding a ton of time just to losing turns in every battle, just because they are so slow. So Geodude suffers from the same thing.
Yeah, like I think most casual people would say that, like, oh, surely Slowbro is better than Kingdra, or not Kingdra. Wait, what's the crap? Kingler. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, brain wasn't working there for a second. Like, surely Slowbro is better than Kingler, right? And I'm sure in a lot of formats it is, but not the case in a speedrun. In a speedrun, I'd rather play Kingler. You're fast.
Yeah.
You have Swords Dance. It's really good.
Yeah, Kingler also continues to be good even in later generations. I have recently played it again, and it's quite good.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's quite good.
Swords Dance. Good move.
Swords Dance is a good move. Also, just really high base attack is very good.
130, right?
I think so. It's outrageous.
Massive. Yeah.
Yeah. So when does this training end?
Well, we're getting to the end of like basically all the good trainers here. So we're going to fight this guy with the Drowsy and the Hypno, which can oftentimes be scary, but thankfully for us, his Pokemon are pretty slow. As that Hypno actually outspeeds me, I forgot about that. It's so funny. The Hypno outspeeds me. But as long as it doesn't use hypnosis, we should be fine there. And then we're going to dig out after we beat the choke. You might think that at level 42, maybe we pop a few candies, fight the rival now. Look at our speed stat. It's 47. We'd be underspeeding the whole team. That's a non-starter. We'd get deleted by the Cloister. Yeah. So what we're doing here, we're backtracking for more vitamins, and then we're going to fight Koga in order to get a badge boost in speed, and then we're going to come back later.
Oh my gosh. Did you almost accidentally sell your Carbos?
Yes, and then it's going to get bad here. This is the worst part of this run. This is the part that makes me cringe every time I think about it. It's so bad. I thought I had something. Oh, I almost want to pause it here, but I think we have enough time for me to explain. Remember when I told you earlier on that my bag was messed up a little bit because the potions were in the wrong spot? Remember I mentioned that?
Yeah.
Well, guess what I did to remedy that situation? I tossed Bide to get back to the beginning of my who cares about Bide, right? That doesn't matter. Well, it turns out that's 1,000 Pokédollars, and that's why I had to backtrack to pick up Counter there to have something else to sell. I was thinking, surely I have something else in my bag to sell for 1,000 Pokédollars. Well, that's what it was. I tossed it. So that's why you see that time bleed there with me spending so long getting the money for that 5 Carbos that I normally in the past had money for.
Yeah. I also want to compliment you on the routing there, because I think it's very beautiful to see how you did a huge extended section of all the rockets, and then you knew that you could still fit in the 5 Carbos and you wouldn't go over the threshold. Because there is the chance if you do a bunch of training that you can then only use 4 Carbos. You're actually losing out on some stat experience which you could have gained with money that now you will just never gain unless you fight more wild Pokemon or trainer Pokemon. So that works out really nicely.
And it's very tight. That's why I had to happen then. If I go after Koga, it's too late. My stat experience is too high. I'd only be able to use 4 Carbos. And then I would be speed tying, get this Sandslash on the champions team.
You don't want to speed tie the Sandslash. Also a Pokemon that we very rarely think about in terms of a speed stat. It's like almost always moving second.
Yeah. Almost never consider it, but in this case, it matters. Because, yeah, if we moved second against it, it would be using Earthquake twice.
It has 94 speed.
Good.
It is his second slowest Pokemon. The Executor is slower with 81 speed.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever memorized its speed stat.
2 candies there, by the way.
No need.
Not for the attack, but to outspeed the Venonats.
Yeah. That's something else you need to think about when you're very slow.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the poison here is so that if you miss, they cannot sleep powder you.
Yeah, I wasn't counting on that. I routed it out so that I could outspeed, but opportunistically, since I happened to get poisoned, I decided to not get rid of the status, just for the safety thing.
I did also notice that if you don't use the 2 candies, the range on the Venomoth is much worse.
Ah, yes, that's true.
With the 2 candies over 45, the damage running threshold, and then at 46, it's a 50% chance to one-shot with Rock Slide. But without those candies, it's an 81.7% chance to two-shot and a 3.5% chance to one-shot.
Yeah, and it's
Venomoth
not
can't do that much, though.
It's not technically required to one-shot it, right? You could two-shot, but it's outspeeding you, and if it uses Psychic twice, it probably gets you, right?
Does.
So
yeah, 53% minimum roll, so it will two-shot with Psychic. But it could also just, like, Toxic or Leech Seed. I guess not Toxic if you're poisoned, but it could, like,
yeah, no,
Leech
it's
Seed
actually a
double team.
50-50 the Psychic, I think, right? Because Double Team is normal, so it won't use Double Team. So it's actually 50-50 between Leech Life and Psychic, I think.
I feel like this is doing math live on stream, but I do not believe that it deprioritizes Double Team.
Oh, it does. It has to, right?
I think only if it finds something that is super effective, though. And I don't think it does. There's a weird quirk.
We're going to have to figure this out
with how
for
the
sure.
good AI works. We are going to have to figure out how this works.
I think it deprioritizes it.
Okay. We will look into it and get back to you.
Yeah, I'll put a note once, or maybe pin a comment or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Erica now. Faster than all of her Pokemon. They're all very slow also. So
yes.
Even Geodude. But we have the speed boost now as well. So if every time you use Harden, you're going to get a 12.5% boost to your speed stat.
That said, we won't have time to set up on any of our Pokemon. So
Of course.
there's a reason we delayed it for so long. Erica after Koga. She really is scary. And I'm saving too, because we have to rock slide against the Tangela. And things can go wrong.
It's a 2-shot.
Yeah, and it's 90% accurate, right? And it could crit us. So yeah, there's things that can go wrong there.
But once you beat the Tangela, then the other 2 are 1-hits, so
Yep.
no need to worry.
Yep. Save there just in case, right? Could crit you. You could miss. But assuming you get past that, then the rest of the way is easy.
So are you going back to Sylph now? 64, I believe, is the rival's Flareon speed, but you're going to be going up against the Jolteon. So, Blaine first. Yep.
Yeah, Blaine's a little easier than the rival. And it just kind of works this way. I played around with it a few different ways, but I'm going to fight one optional here. It's not because he's got the best experience. It's decent experience with the Rapidash, but I'm doing this mostly just because it lines up experience for badge boost in the next section of the game really well. And sometimes that's important, especially when you're using a slow Pokemon that relies on badge boosts.
Definitely. Okay, can you lose to Blaine?
Yeah, you totally can. You can get confused. You can get burned. He's got a scary team. He can always get you.
Yeah, even if you're a water type, he can get you.
Do you see how much Flamethrower did?
Yeah.
It's crazy. So I'm hardening here crucially until I outspeed the Ninetales and the Arcanine. I'm okay underspeeding the Rapidash because it's the least scary Pokemon.
Worst Pokemon. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Its best move is Stomp, and Fire Spin is okay, but it's not going to go for it in every single scenario. If it did prioritize Fire Spin, if it had an outspeed, the Rapidash would be very scary.
That's true. Yep. Thankfully, it doesn't. Although Stomp can also flinch, which can be annoying. But I did think, okay, better to risk a little bit against the Rapidash than spend an extra turn against the Ninetales. Because you saw how much the Flamethrower did. You know how devastating Confuse Ray can be.
Yep.
Okay, notice just barely level 49 because we just leveled up after Blaine. This is very nice for fighting the rival. This is a difference in the rival teams too. See what comes next? Ninetales. Perfect to set up on. Unlike Blaine's Ninetales, this Ninetales sucks.
Yeah, this one's awful. It only has Ember. Like, Ember is its best move. Sometimes it roars and does nothing.
Yeah. Thankfully, our defenses are really high, so even a crit double kick there is not too scary.
Yeah, 16 to 19% from double kick. I think that's 1 turn or 2. No, I think that's 2 turns.
Yeah, basically that rival fight's totally fine unless we get sand attacked at the beginning or unless we like miss a rock slide against the Cloyster. For the most part, that's a pretty safe fight once we have the ability to badge boost.
Yeah. It's always nice with weak Pokemon to do Koga and Blaine before Rival 5. You can fight him before both, but it is nice to do them both because then you get the badge boosts. It makes the fight so much easier for so many Pokemon. Geodude also, I should mention this, one of the differences between Geodude and Onix, which I find hilarious, is that Geodude gets Fire Blast, but Onix doesn't. Obvious. I don't think you're going to use Fire Blast, right? Am I wrong?
You're right. No. What's our special? Like 25 base special or something? It's so bad.
30.
No. We're not going to use Fire Blast.
It's a funny quirk of a lot of the ground types in Gen 1. A bunch of them get Fire Blast, but Onix is a weird exception. Geodude also gets Submission, Counter, and Seismic Toss, which Onix doesn't get. I assume you're also not going to make use of those moves.
Yeah, the thing is, ooh, Sabrina just wrecked us. We can't outspeed Sabrina. We don't get we don't get Swift or anything. So, but basically, Rock Slide and Earthquake are all you need, right? Like those are our answers. I think you asked me a question earlier before we started, like, hey, are we using Mimic for something? And it's like, no, we actually don't even use Mimic with either of these Pokemon because it turns out if you can badge boost and if you can use Earthquake and Rock Slide, those are basically all the tools you need.
Yeah.
Basically. Actually, Onix will have some pretty interesting tools as well that we'll get to later, but Mimic is not one of them that's required.
The Geodude line in general really likes to beat the game with brute force, just damage ranges and levels. In this case, also set up with Harden. But that kind of, I think that trend continues into future generations. I've looked at its movesets a little bit. It doesn't have a lot of tools for like interesting strategic play. So yeah, go back and get the power plant candy now. This one costs a lot of time. It's very inefficient. Really only the worst Pokemon go over here to get this candy. You need to be finishing the game at like 70 plus to make this really worth it.
Yeah, at least high 60s. It kind of depends on your growth rate and whether you're forced into any early candies or something. But yeah, basically that's what it is. So I've timed it out before, and it tends to be the case that if you can fight 2 optional trainers in Victory Road, it's faster to get a level that way than to go rare candy. If you have to do 3 optionals in Victory Road, then it's slightly fast to get the rare candy. And in a lot of cases, the Pokemon that are picking up that rare candy are also doing some of the most efficient training in Victory Road anyway, right? So you're looking at secondary training in Victory Road, and it's just, yeah, it's starting to get ugly. The training options are ugly by the time you resort to that candy.
Like, you don't want to fight the guy that has 1 Mr. Mime. I don't even know if you know he exists, but...
I do. I do know he exists. Austin fights him like sometimes to line up badge boosts.
that does make sense, but...
Yeah.
He's like, I don't think I've ever fought him in one of my runs.
I haven't either. I mean, I think maybe I have just to do it once. I don't know. I've played so many hundreds of runs at this point. It's hard to keep track. But,
yeah, it is hard to remember.
Yeah, but I've never had him in an optimized run, I don't think.
Okay, Doug Trio. This thing's really fast, but
yeah.
Guard Spec.
Yeah, we're just looking for a Guard Spec or a Mist Fissure there, because it's going to do a lot of damage if it Earthquakes or if it digs. And basically, we're just looking to set up Hardens on this Persian. Slash will do decent damage, but nothing that we're too terrified of. So we should be fine here the rest of the way with Badge Boost for the damage ranges we need. +5 is good.
Yeah, and you have outspeeds on everything once you set up fully there on the Persian. Maybe, wait, what's the Persian speed? Not an outspeed on the Persian, I'm sorry, but outspeeds on everything else. The Persian is not relevant.
Yeah, it's so funny.
I used to think that Giovanni was really good in Gen 1, but in Yellow specifically, but over time I realized that he's just the trainer that usually lags behind everyone else. You can just win with guard specs and stuff like that if you really have to.
I still think he's pretty scary for fire and electric types, especially if you don't allow
Poison
Mimic
also.
Double Team. But yeah, he's like, for a little while I wasn't sure if he was better or Blaine, but now I'm firmly in the Blaine camp. I think Blaine is the best.
Blaine is better. I think Koga is better than Giovanni as well.
Yeah, maybe so. Koga is pretty scary. Rival, not so scary. Rival 6, not a big deal.
This one's pretty straightforward.
Nope, that's a Sand Slash.
This fight does not have Earthquake.
We were going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
Yep. The Rival 6 is where the Sand Slash is the least relevant, I think, because it doesn't know Sand Attack anymore, and it hasn't learned Earthquake yet. So you're hitting it right in the sweet spot where it's kind of at a power low. What's the difference of a power spike? What's the opposite of a power spike?
Power Trough, maybe?
Oh, maybe so.
It's like
a Power Valley.
Power Valley, yeah. Definitely. He's by far the worst there. Mm-hmm. A lot of his Pokemon are in that kind of like weird territory. The Magneton does have Thunder Wave when you're fighting the Magneton, but it does not yet have Thunderbolt.
Yeah.
Which makes it a lot less scary than the Champion's Magneton, and the Execute is not fully evolved.
I'd like to pat myself on the back here, by the way, for pushing the rock correctly.
Good job. It's very challenging. So I see you're going to fight 6 trainers in here.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll get Geodude to level 57. So your goal then is 67 for Lorelei.
Yes. And that lines things up so I have 70 for the champion.
Got it.
So 67 is actually pretty good for Lorelei too, because it gives me just barely an outspeed on the Dugong, another Pokemon that we never talk about outspeeding, but in this case it's very, very relevant, because if she uses Bubble Beam, she's going to delete us. If she uses a Roar Beam, she's going to do massive damage.
Yeah.
We do survive in a Roar Beam, I think.
The nuance to understand here is that starting in Generation 2, the AI makes choices based on the amount of damage moves do. So they calculate the damage roll, and then they decide, oh, this move will do more damage, I'll use that instead of this other move. Whereas in Gen 1, the AI is selecting moves based on typing. So it's going to view both Bubble Beam and Aurora Beam as super effective and then choose between them randomly, not based on damage, which is very good for a Pokemon like Geodude or Onix, because then you can get hit by Aurora Beam, which is doing about half the damage that Bubble Beam is.
And I think there's like roughly a 5% chance or something that she'll use neither of those on turn 1. Like there's a random chance that she'll use Takedown, but it's pretty small. By the way, I did run into her intentionally. It looked like it was an accident, but that was on purpose.
It did look like an accident. Yeah. She is one of the trainers that I have run into by accident the most in Pokemon Yellow. It's very hard to not, like, because you have to be very precise. You have to not move one step up. It's tricky to avoid her.
I agree. Also, Victoria Bell, scary trainer if you're a rock ground type, but not as much when you can just outspeed and one-shot everything. Thankfully, the Victory Bell line is pretty slow.
Maybe Onix would have problems there. Because
I think
its
so.
attack is not as high. So even if it's doing same type attack bonus damage with something like Dig or Earthquake, it's probably not going to knock out.
I'm saving here, by the way, because we can't outspeed the Kadabras.
Oh, interesting.
And yeah, did I need the Dig for damage ranges? I'm trying to remember why I did that.
Let me
Maybe
look at it.
actually I'm just bad. I think I'm bad. I think that I should not be setting up at all.
Unfortunately, you are bad. No setup required.
I think I was trying to set up to outspeed, and then I decided, no, it's not worth it halfway through. Just wasted a couple turns. So don't fight that fight like I fought that fight.
I do this all the time in later games like Hard Gold. I was doing some narration for a Hard Gold run earlier today, and I'm like setting up Substitute for no reason. It's like, this is unnecessary.
I think it wasn't part of the plan, but then I was kind of low on health, so I just decided to do it that way. But okay, let's talk Lorelei strategy real quick. So Dig, we absolutely have to get the 52% chance that she rests on turn 2. That's non-negotiable. And it's even lower than that because unfortunately at this level, we're going to be putting her into Super Potion range. So it's more like a 26% chance that she'll use rest on turn 2. So we have to get it though. There's no other option really because we need to set up the 2 Hardens to get damage ranges for the rest of the fight.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Here, we got the really rare rest on turn 1, but I switched to Earthquake and said, what am I doing? We're not going to win this fight. You have to get the badge boost. It doesn't matter if we can knock it out and live. We need the badge boosts.
Yeah, the damage ranges against everything else are not good enough. Like you'll 2-shot the Cloyster. 89% maximum roll on the Cloyster right now with Rock Slide, even though we're level 67 and we get the same type attack bonus. Cloyster has ridiculous defense. Also, 98% maximum roll on the Lapras without badge boosts. So, badge boosts are required.
Yes. Oh, missed clamp there. I paused for a second because I thought I was dead. Dig, very important on Slowbro, by the way. We dodged the Surf on turn 1 and it has to use Withdrawal on turn 2. Here, we have to tank a shot from Jinx. That's why it's not viable. Did we get it? We got the range.
Nice.
It's not viable, by the way, to try to outspeed that Jinx. We can't get there. So we have to tank a shot, and that's why it was unacceptable to tank an Aurora Beam from the Dugong earlier. We had to be on full health going to the Jinx, and then avoid the crit or the freeze. So Lorelei, pretty sketchy fight. There's a path, but it could fall apart.
At that level, the minimum roll from Aurora Beam and the minimum roll from Ice Beam do 45% and 55%. So if you tank the Aurora Beam... Yeah, Ice Punch. Sorry, yes. Yep. So yeah, if you tank Aurora Beam, you can't get hit by Ice Punch later into the fight.
Yep.
And it's like, if you leveled up a little bit more on the minimum rolls, you would be able to survive. But still probably not worth it.
Yeah, maybe we could have picked up a couple calcium or something, but I still don't think it's worth it because you really need the badge boost for ranges anyway as we get deleted by Mega. This fight is so random, though. We just need to like not get hit by Mega Drain and not wreck ourselves with confusion, and we'll be fine. But yeah, I don't think it's worth trying to go for a different strategy against Lorelei. I think we just need that to work.
I agree.
Yeah, you can't play defensively in this case, right?
Yep.
It's a speed run. We got to play offensively. We don't want to like outlive ranges if we have a path that's just more aggressive.
Yep. And then, yeah, Agatha is like, as you saw before, sometimes Mega Drains and destroys you, but she has random AI. And so sometimes she just falls apart when you have Earthquake.
Now, notably with Graveler against Lance, I was going for 1 Harden to get the outspeed on Gyarados and then Rock Slide on turn 2. Because the distribution of stats is so much different for Geodude, 1 Harden at this level is still not enough to outspeed the Gyarados. So we have to go for Rock Slide. Fortunately, we do have the damage ranges we need for Rock Slide to one-shot the Gyarados without any boosts.
Yeah, Graveler gets plus 15 base speed. So it's quite a bit faster than Geodude.
Mm-hmm. Big difference.
So here, this is typically the case with Pokemon that struggle against Lance's Gyarados. You just have to wait for the Hydro Pump to miss. It looks really messy again, like the fight against Misty, but this is the fastest way to play this portion of the game.
Yep. By the way, since we're just waiting for that to hit and we can set up for free on the Dragonair after that and just sweep the team, not a big deal. Let's talk about the champion. There does exist a fissure strategy option against the champion where you fissure the Sand Slash.
Wait,
interestingly,
and you're not going for that?
No, I'm not. We get 2-shot with Earthquake. Wait, am I going for it? No, I don't think I'm going for it. I think I'm just 2-shotting.
I don't think you are.
Yeah, I'm just 2-shotting. You made me hesitate for a second. I was like, wait a minute, that is something I would do. I would fissure the Sand Slash.
Yeah.
It's totally something I would do. By the way, we finally got the Hydro Mist that we needed.
Nice.
But damage ranges work out such that we can knock out the Sand Slash. We can tank 1 Earthquake. That's why we want the outspeed. We don't want the 50-50 to get to the Alakazam because the Alakazam will never go for Recover. Recover is a normal move. It will not choose Recover against us, so we don't have that as an out. We need to be able to tank a Psybeam or get a Kinesis and knock it out and then rest up on the following Executor.
Got it.
And actually, I don't think we can even survive. Can we survive a Psybeam here? We might have to just get the 1 out of 3 Kinesis. Yeah, it's the 1 out of 3 Kinesis.
Yeah, its minimum roll there is 72 damage from the Alakazam. That's damage, not a percentage. 0
Got
to 3
it.
points.
Oh, so maybe it's
84.
maybe it's a range then, right? Because I'm not sure how much the Sand Slash did. But okay, regardless, here we're resting up. And we're going to finish the setup. We already finished the setup to +6. And we should be able to sweep the team from here. We just need to not miss a Rock Slide. Ooh, or get an Aurora Beam instead of a Clamp.
Yeah. The Executor is so kind. Look at that. Gave you a perfect opportunity to set up. I also love that at the end, the Geodude outspeeds the Jolteon.
Yeah,
it feels like
+6,
the perfect way
just
to end the
barely. Yeah.
Really good time. 57 minutes, 35 seconds, 16 resets, no blackouts. Level 70. I don't think I would have believed that this was possible with Geodude like 3 years ago. 3 hours, 34 minutes game time.
Honestly, it feels pretty good for a first stage Pokemon. It's definitely got its limitations. We had to train more than I'd like to train, but because of its pretty high attack stat and its really good offensive typing with Rock Slide and Earthquake, I thought it felt pretty good to play. And when I was going for the easier Brock strategy, the level 16 strat, the more consistent one, it was actually fun to play over and over again too. So I really enjoyed that run. And I think we're going to have a pretty interesting juxtaposition here as we jump into Onix. Do you still, after seeing the Geodude playthrough, do you still feel like it's in the driver's seat in this matchup, or do you feel any differently?
I know that someone else, I think Ike the Killer has got a sub-hour time with Onix in Gen 1. So I think that it will get a time that is going to be very close to Geodude if it loses. But I do think it's going to get a slightly better time. I'm thinking like 56 minutes, maybe like high 56 minutes, and then the fight between the two will be very close. I'm really just hoping that Bind is going to give it good solutions to stuff with high base speed.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see some Bind strats.
I want to let people know, or, peek behind the curtain here a little bit and tell you about my creative process. The Chansey versus Rapidash versus video was my first video on the channel and the first thing that we commented together, right? And I was pretty transparent in that one, that I took two Pokemon with pretty close results and I paired them against each other, just like that. The methodology on this one was different, just to set expectations. I was genuinely not aware of which Pokemon would be better and wanted to explore it and kind of decided on it as a versus video before I knew what the result would be or whether they would even be close. Now, if they were way, way off, like 10 minutes off or something, maybe I would have pivoted, but I was not sure, would this be a photo finish or would this be 5 minutes different? And I was kind of okay with either result because I thought if it's not clear to me, as we already see a deviation where I'm not fighting rival 1A, and there's going to be a lot of things that are different about these two runs despite their rock ground typing. If it's not obvious to me which one's better, well, it might make a fun versus video.
Yeah, I think that I think sometimes even when they are clearly one Pokemon is better than the other Pokemon, I think sometimes the versus video format works well, even just to show how much different the two species are if they're in some ways related. Like I'm thinking like Rampardos and Bastiodon in Generation 4. Like Bastiodon is obviously much worse. Rampardos is obviously much better. But it can be interesting sometimes to see what the discrepancy is. That said, I do think that this makes a much more interesting video. Because I also genuinely don't know which one's going to be better. And I think it's a fun like theme because both these Pokemon are on the initial Gym Leader's team. Mm-hmm. So you have to go up against them early on into the playthrough. They're both rock ground types, same typing. But you sent me a message about this, and I didn't really think about it like that, but it is true. Even though they have the same typing, and some of their stats are very similar, like high defense, for example, they end up solving all of their significant problems throughout the playthrough in very different ways. Because Onix has high speed, and Geodude has low speed.
They do, which means Onix will have ways to crit. Onix will have ways to outspeed Pokemon and have different types of solutions, like Bind you mentioned earlier. That will be a viable path for Onix when it wasn't for Geodude, but we're just not going to be able to hit the ranges. Geodude was able to level to hit certain ranges for tons of one-shots that Onix is just never realistically going to get. By the way, we're already utilizing Screech a lot in the early game, which it's 85% accurate, so it looked ridiculous when I kept missing it against the Metapod that was setting up with Harden, and it was keeping its defense just as fast as I was hurting its defense, and we're just wasting time back and forth. But in general, when Screech is like hitting reasonably accurately, it is speeding these fights up because with our attack stat, we're just not doing a lot of damage. Like here you see we use a Screech and we're still 3 hitting that Caterpie.
Yep.
And we wouldn't actually have enough tackles to get through if we didn't use some of those too. You see, 2 tackles left. We would have had to backtrack into the forest if we didn't use those Screeches to kind of spread out the tackle PP.
Yeah, with Pokemon that have low attack stats or really weak moves early on, but they get a move that lowers the defense, to get through areas, you often have to do this. Screech or Leer or Tail Whip. Then use the PP more spread out throughout the 2 moves that you have.
In one way, it does look a little bit less competent than Geodude so far, but you'll notice we're fighting Brock way earlier even still, because we're not training. We're going to fight him at level 10 instead of going up to like level 15 or 16.
Yep. And with Screech, even though Tackle is resisted, it's going to do okay damage unless it crits. Gen 1 quirk. You get a bunch of crits. That's actually a downside of Onix's high crit rate. Is that if you're using Screech, then you can crit and do less damage in a case like this.
Yeah, and it's hilarious how little damage it's doing when it crits, too. But thankfully, we are just barely faster than the other Onix because of our perfect DVs. So even a level lower than the Onix, we're able to time out the bides and not tackle into it.
Yeah, you can still waste your time here by going for bide frequently, which is exactly what he's doing.
Yeah.
This is annoying, but... It's just a matter of time, I think. Can you lose here? Like, I know you can, but, like, is it realistic to lose here with Onix?
Not realistic, no.
Yeah. Like, he would have to bind you so many times in a row. And even then, like, yeah. Because you're outspeeding. Like, there's not really a risk there.
Yep. By the way, 3 minutes faster at Brock than Geodude.
Yep. So Onix is off to a good start.
Yes, although I will say that
Misty.
was probably the biggest advantage it's going to have throughout the entire playthrough. Now, we're not going to have to do as much optional training as Geodude did, but that said, Geodude was able to pick up Mega Punch after this and speed everything up a lot, and we are not going to have that luxury with Onix. We don't get Mega Punch, and we're not getting a moveset upgrade until Dig, so we're going to have to fight lots of optionals between now and then.
I do want to mention something that just happened there. The Weedle went for Poison Sting and it missed. This is because the damage rounded down to 0.
Yeah, was not a Gen 1 miss, most likely.
Yeah. Generation, it could be. There was no way for us to know for certain, but this is a quirk of Gen 1. In every other Pokemon game, damage always rounds up to 1, so that the minimum damage from a damage-dealing move is 1. But in this game, damage can round down.
I think only in the case if it's double resisted, and because rock and ground both resist poison, that gives us the ability to take 0 damage from poison sting. Same thing with Gengar, by the way. If Gengar's at a high enough level, because it quad resists poison sting as well, it can also get. I saw that in a Picaspray video one time. Had a level 100 Gengar get stuck against a Pokemon that could only damage it with a crit poison sting.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. So shout out to Picaspray. He's got some fun little 10-minute videos out there with
definitely
quirky interactions.
This is a brutal Route 3, though. This is so much slower than Geodude's. I know I really ragged on Rock Throw and the fact that it has 65% accuracy, but Rock Throw is much faster through that section of the run rather than having to use Tackle and Screech.
Yeah, we would love Rock Throw. We would love Mega Punch. We really would. The next move that we get that's any good is Bind, and it's still pretty slow.
Onix, the only thing that Onix gets that's fast is its base speed.
It's so true.
I
guess it's really
Fissure.
not even that good. Honestly, it's a decent base speed. It's just good in the context of being a rock ground type.
Yeah. Yeah, when you look at Geodude, you're like, wow, it's very slow rock ground type. Okay, rock ground types are usually slow. And then Onix is like, wow, fast, speedy, but it's base 70 speed. That's still not very good.
Yeah,
It's in the context of Gen 1 Pokemon, it's higher up there, but not for fully evolved Pokemon.
Yeah, here's the bind that we were looking forward to, right? Yay, it speeds up the fight, but it's 75% accurate and it's still kind of slow. It's just faster than Tackle, but it's really not fast.
Just so everyone knows, Rattata is faster than Onix.
Oh yeah, Rattata is pretty fast, pretty speedy, right?
I like that comparison a lot because Onix has the same base attack as Pidgey, but Rattata has more speed.
Oh my gosh.
The early root Pokemon give it a run for its money.
Yeah. Now, in fairness to Onix, we are seeing its incredible 160 base defense be very helpful, right? Because if it didn't have that, it wouldn't be able to fight Brock at a low level. It wouldn't be able... Team Rocket is actually, as I accidentally click on Screech instead of Tackle, Team Rocket's actually scary for some of those Pokemon, right? If you're a Pidgey or if you're a Rattata, you're kind of scared of that Team Rocket group right there if you're not taking on a lot of optionals. Whereas Onix isn't, right? You're just not really worried about losing any of these fights when you're a rock type.
Yeah.
And when you have
Onix,
160 defense.
Rock specifically, and later in the series, Steel types, Rock, Steel, and Ghost types in the early game, they are so good defensively. Ghosts, the first Pokemon that can hit them that's mandatory is this Spearow.
We're
I guess they
slower
can
than the
get hit
Spearow?
with poison stuff, but this is the first significant fight where I think we're speed tied, aren't we?
I think you're right. And it snuck a growl in there, and that growl just slows this fight down so much. You see how much we're doing to Sandshrew after we hit with a Screech?
Yep.
It's so bad.
Yeah, this was a speed tie.
Yeah. See,
Spearow
so we're
also
not
has
that
the
speedy.
Same base speed.
Yeah, we're
same
not.
base speed as Onix.
Really?
Yep.
70.
This fight's really slow, but like I was saying, Rock, Steel, and Ghost types, they're basically defensively incredibly capable in the early game. They don't really lose to anything until the Rock Ground type gets to Grass types or Water types, and then it starts falling apart.
Like Misty, right?
Like Misty. Luckily, though, 35 speed after the rival, so we are going to be able to easily outspeed the Staryu, which has 38 speed.
Yes.
But
yes.
are you going to attempt to outspeed the Starmie?
We are. We're going to do that because we just don't have the damage ranges, right? Whereas Geodude could say, oh, well, that's fine. I can wait for an X defend or something and just power through. We're going to do laughably little damage to her Pokemon after she sets up with an X defend. So I don't think that's really a viable path for Onix. I think the only path that makes sense is backtrack to Misty and outspeed both Pokemon and use Bind.
Yeah. I think there might be the potential to survive a water gun and paralyze with Body Slam, and then just she misses all of her turns because of paralysis and you win. But realistically, outspeeding Misty's Starmie is the best way to play with Onix because it has higher base speed.
Yes, I definitely think so.
This is all so painful, though. We're just watching its time lead evaporate as it takes like a million turns to knock out each one of these trainers' Pokemon.
I know with Geodude it was frustrating, right? Because we were using Rock Throw for Pidgey, right? And it's like, oh, you miss a Rock Throw, and then you get hit the Sand Attack, and you miss a couple moves. It's like, oh, that's so annoying. We missed a couple moves, and then in contrast, Onix is like, just chipping away, just whittling away at the Pokemon little by little, and that's the best case scenario.
Yep. Oh, by the way, this Mankey does have low kick. Does it have? Yeah, it has low kick.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's scary if you're playing a Pokemon that takes super effective damage from it, but again, Onix has ridiculous defense, so it's not all that scary. Also, low kick does not deal weight-based damage in Generation 1 and 2. It is fixed base power, I believe 50 base power, and it has a chance to flinch, 30% chance.
Yeah, and I was going to say it's actually scarier for Geodude because while it's super effective in both cases, Geodude doesn't have as outrageous of a defensive base stat as Onix does. It's still good, but it's not incredible like 160. What is it? Like 100 or something?
100, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So it's good, but not as incredible defensively. And it's also slower than the Mankey. So the Mankey is going to get one extra turn. And it can flinch with low kick because it's slower too. So if it had good AI, it would actually be a terrifying fight. Thankfully, it is randomizing, but I didn't mention it while I was playing Geodude. I did sometimes lose to that trainer playing Geodude.
Oh, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And you would restart the run at that point if you lost to him?
No, I'd probably just take the blackout.
Okay.
Although, yeah, it would make that vitamin harder, wouldn't it, to afford? So,
I don't think so because you don't get any experience from the Mankey.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the blackout. You lose some money. It might make the vitamin harder to afford later. It might have been tragic where I'm like, oh, it's not that bad of a time bleed. Get a good Misty and then end up not having money for the Carbos. In a case like that, I probably would have just accepted it, one fewer Carbos and a speed tie at the champion Sandslash. But it's not what you want.
Yeah, really not what you want. Also, Onix, we've been talking a lot about its base defense. It is the second highest base defense in the game.
Cloyster.
It's only Cloyster. Yeah, Cloyster has 180. And Cloyster is obviously going to be a problem for Onix, I think. With such low attack and Cloyster having things that do good damage to Onix.
Oh, look at Absorb!
Yeah. This trainer got art on my channel because she is so good against Pokemon that take 4 times damage from Absorb.
You might wonder why I reset like that. It's because it takes so many binds at 75% accuracy, and then I would have had to get through the second Oddish too. So I decided after the second Absorb, like the chances of a really slow reset are too high, and that's why I just went ahead and took the reset there.
That makes sense.
Scary. She's so scary.
Yep. There's lots of cases like that in these solo challenges. Like you get paralyzed from like the first Pokemon or the second Pokemon. It often doesn't make sense to play it out and then just lose to like the last Pokemon. And you wasted like 45 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
When you can just reset, it takes like 20 seconds and then you're back into the fight, hopefully without the status condition.
Yes, I would say it's good to be a practical player and not a perfectionist, right? Like that was the first reset of the run. I could easily see if you had a different mentality being like, well, playing it out because you want to keep that 0 on the scorecard.
Yes.
But that's not really how I see things, right? It's like, okay, I'd rather take the 15-second reset than risk a 40-second reset. Well, it probably would be 40, but same concept.
I think one of the things that kept my times high in my solo challenges was holding on to the philosophy of trying to get through the runs with low resets and blackouts. And then as soon as you start just being a little bit more permissive, accepting some faults here and there, the runs actually become a lot faster.
You can see there's a little extra messiness here as I was thinking about teaching dig, and then I kind of like decided not to yet, or maybe I didn't see it. I want to be transparent with the audience here that Onix actually did get fewer playthroughs than Geodude, and there's a very specific reason for that. The reason is that Onix, first of all, its early game is more painful to play, and second of all, Lorelei, if you thought it was tough for Geodude, is insanely difficult for Onix. So playing full playthroughs with Onix is a lot more painful than with Geodude, because sometimes it'll fall apart 45, 50 minutes into the playthrough or so, right? And that's a rough one. So I'm not saying we have an awesome Lorelei in this run, but we had an acceptable Lorelei, and it's hard to even get an acceptable Lorelei. So yeah. I just want to plant that seed now. You're going to see some imperfections here in this playthrough. This playthrough is not quite as cleanly executed as Geodude, but there's kind of a reason for that.
Yeah, I think I talk about this a lot, but it's always nice when the risk comes at the beginning of the playthrough or early on, like in the first 3 gym leaders, rather than when the risk comes at the champion or Lance, Agatha, Lorelei, because then you might have a great run that just dies to Lorelei. You reset to her 20 times or whatever, and you're like, well, this run's dead. Guess I should just start again. I find that much more frustrating, whereas it's a lot easier to just be like, yeah, my Misty was bad. I'm going to start again. It wasted 15, 20 minutes. Let's try again, and eventually I'll get a good Misty, and then the rest of the game will be smooth. I think the one Pokemon that feels kind of an exception to that is Parasect, where it has an awful early game, and then Blaine's just waiting close to the end, like, hey, I could one-shot you over and over again. That one is a little bit frustrating.
Yeah, I think the combination is what really does it, is when there's a lot of risk in the early game, but then it can also fall apart at the end. That's a tough combo. By the way, we're doing a little extra training here, going for a few more levels because we still are not outspeeding the Starmie yet.
So the goal here is level 28, which will give the outspeed on Starmie.
Yeah, which is interestingly the same level that Geodude went for.
Yeah, that's true. But unfortunately, unlike Geodude, like you said, the damage ranges for Onix are not nearly as good. It has a 100% roll with Dig on the Staryu, but it has to 2-shot the Starmie. There is no chance, unless it crits, I think. Yeah, unless it crits, to get the 1 hit with Dig.
Right, and Bubble Beam still deletes us, and Water Guns are also quite bad. I think it's a guaranteed 2-shot, I'm sure of it, and then a crit would probably 1-shot us as well. So it's really...
Water Gun is 93 to 110%, so sometimes it will 1-hit 70% of the time. So 30% chance to survive the Water Gun.
Oh gosh, yeah, it's bad. Okay, so I'm going over here, and you might be thinking, wait a minute, it's the same level for Onix and Geodude. This is really where growth rate comes into place, right? We're a medium fast Pokemon rather than medium slow. You might think it's all the training we did for Brock, but really that's the lesser factor. At this point, that's not much of a factor anymore. The main factor is that we're the medium fast growth rate.
Yep. These trainers are actually, I'm going to use efficient in air quotes, but these trainers are fairly efficient if you're a Pokemon that really needs levels for Misty.
Yeah, that was an accident, by the way.
People in Mount Moon.
I ran into the Nidoran person by accident. We had 26. That's all we needed. We were going to candy the 28. It's not that big of a deal, but it's annoying. This bothers the perfectionist in me.
Yep.
I'm not used to going over there very often with many Pokemon, so kind of an unfortunate routing thing. I kind of just bumped into an optional trainer that I'm not used to navigating that area very much.
Yeah. I think that's a good location to consider if you're playing like a first stage fire type, because Misty is going to be fairly difficult. You can go over there, get some experience fairly quickly. A lot of them learn Dig, like Charmander, for example, and then you can make makes Misty quite a bit easier. Like the Mount Moon training is stuff like that is just far less efficient. Okay, so can you do it?
Yeah, so we're using Bind here against the Starmie. And the idea is that, well, actually, Misty has the ability to use an X defend while Bind is being active. So we can basically count with that many turns, a 25% chance every turn. We can count on her using an X defend like that at some point. So we need to get her down to about 1/3 so we have the range to dig through the X defend.
Yep. Interesting here that the Onix split is 21 minutes and 16 seconds, so it is now 40 seconds behind Geodude.
Isn't that crazy?
Big swing. 3 minutes and 40 seconds was essentially lost from Brock all the way to Misty.
Yeah.
Part growth rate, but also part just the moves that Onix has available to it and the damage ranges being so much worse.
And we burned 2 rare candies. Geodude didn't use any candies yet. Onix has used 2 candies now to be able to keep up.
Yeah. I do think it's going to finish the game at a lower level than Geodude. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but my intuition is it's going to be like 5 levels lower, 6 levels lower. Just because of growth rate, but also because of speed.
Yes, it is going to finish at a lower level, and it has to be competitive in this because if it went to level 70 for the champion, it would be well over an hour. There's just no way.
Yep. That's like, I did an Onix playthrough a long time ago, and I haven't really gone back and revisited it since then. And I think my Onix time was ridiculously slow. Just because I was trying to make the champion as consistent as possible, and when you're trying to do that with a Pokemon like Onix, like, yeah, my former time was 1 hour 34 minutes and 15 seconds. To make the champion and Lorelei consistent, you need to overlevel like a ridiculous amount.
Yeah, and Lorelei, in my opinion, is the main boss of this run. At least the way I've routed it out, she's definitely the main boss of this run. The champion's pretty doable because just like you saw with Geodude, all we have to do is get past the first 2 Pokemon. Then we can set up on Exeggutor. We could even set up on Magneton. It's not really a problem. We can badge boost to our heart's content. We are going to get Harden for the late game. But Lorelei, there's no time to set up Hardens when she's bubble beaming you in the face.
That's another difference between these 2 Pokemon that I find really interesting is when they get their setup moves. Geodude gets Defense Curl very early on, whereas Onix gets Harden at 43. So Onix doesn't have access to... Oh my gosh. Oh.
Sorry, you were saying?
No, that guy's always so scary, especially with snake Pokemon. Like, Ekans really struggled there too when I played it a long time ago. Game Freak did not make any good snake Pokemon in Gen 1, unless you consider Gyarados a serpent, in which case they just decided to nerf it in Yellow anyways.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
There's one half of a good snake Pokemon in Gen 1.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's like, because Dragonair as a middle evolution is like, it feels like it should be better with the moves it gets, but then it kind of underperforms, and Dratini's awful, and Ekans isn't good, and maybe Onix will be better than Geodude.
Maybe.
It's nice to not have to worry about self-destructing Hiker digs, even a one-hit here with Onix.
Mm-hmm. Notably, this is right around the time that Geodude got Earthquake by level up. Onix will need to go for the TM.
This is just another case where every battle takes longer for Onix when compared to Geodude. Because Geodude's 1 turning with Earthquake, and Onix is going to be 2 turning with Dig. Now, it isn't like a 1 to 2 ratio. It's more like a 1 to 1.5 ratio, because you do skip some text when you're using Dig. The second turn where you do finally attack isn't as long as the first turn when you select the move. So because of that, Dig is not twice as bad as Earthquake, but it is still bleeding time.
Yes, about 3/4 of a second for every use, which may not sound like a lot, but we are going to be using a lot of Dig/Earthquake. It's our best move, so we're going to be spamming it a lot.
I assume also going to teach Earthquake?
Yes, we will teach.
Going to teach Rock Slide. Rock Slide is what I meant.
Yes, well, to both, right? Because Earthquake and Rock Slide give at least neutral, effective coverage against everything, and in a lot of cases super effective damage, right? Like rock and ground pair really nicely together in Gen 1. So and I think afterwards as well. But
They do, yeah.
yes, so
With the
it's a really
exception
nice
of
combination.
Bronzong that I mentioned. The Bronzong ruins everything.
Yeah, so we're not even picking up Mimic, right? Like we just have all the tools we need. If we have a badge boosting move, we have Earthquake, we have Rock Slide. That's all the offensive tools we need. Now Onix actually is, interestingly, because it's faster than Geodude, going to have some other options like Fissure's more viable because we're outspeeding more things. Bind is viable because we get it and we're outspeeding things. So Onix does have a bit more flexibility for the tools it can use. And I don't think we even really need to hold on to Dig for Lorelei because we're not really going to be doing the same thing that Geodude did. We have a totally different strategy for her.
Okay, that's good, because I was going to mention that it does feel like at this point in the game that there are some moveset constraints setting in. If you want to have Harden, you want to have Dig for Lorelei, maybe. You want to have Earthquake, you want to have Rock Slide. Like, now you don't have space for Bind or Fissure. Like, you're going to have to drop something that seems to have a use somewhere. So it is good to know that you don't actually need Dig for Lorelei. There's a different strategy available. I assume Bind is going to stick around for quite some time, and I think we're going to see Fissure play in the late game. I would be surprised if we don't. It is, the mechanics around Fissure have changed a lot over the years. In Gen 1, you have to outspeed the enemy's Pokemon in order for Fissure to work. It doesn't matter about what your level is. You just need to outspeed. Whereas starting in Generation 2, you have to have a higher level than the enemy, like the target. The user has to have a higher level than the target. And then starting in Generation 3, the accuracy of the one-hit... It's not actually accuracy. The chance to hit of one-hit KO moves, it grows from 30% for every level that the user is above the target. So if the user is 10 levels above the target, then the accuracy is 40% instead of 30%. But in Generation 1, it's just 30% accuracy. So even if Onix is like 20 levels above the target, Fissure still has a 30% chance to hit.
I've got a multiple choice question for you and the audience, Scott, since we're talking about Fissure. In Generation 1, what happens when you speed tie your opponent? Can you hit with Fissure at all? Like, will you always miss? Will you only hit if you win the speed tie on that turn? Or do you have a 30% chance regardless?
I don't actually know the answer to this. Part of me wants to give not one of those answers and just write in the margins of the test and say you bypass accuracy checks and it's a crazy Gen 1 glitch. But
no. It is one of the answers I gave you. It's one of those three. I know. Yeah. I'm not that cruel.
I think that it would take them one extra byte in the instructions to write an equal than, like an equals operator. So they would have to write like greater than or equal to. I think they will have just written the like greater than comparison. So I think you have to be one speed faster than the enemy.
So I tested this because I wasn't sure. And colloquially, for a little while, oh boy, that's a hard word to say. Colloquially? There we go. Nailed it.
Yeah, you got it.
First try. Colloquially, it seemed like it was only connecting when I won the speed tie. And so I mentioned that to a couple of other people in the community, and Smash Math's like, really? That doesn't make sense to me. Are you sure that's how it works? And I was like, well, I know that it does connect if you win the speed tie, but I tested it maybe 10 times or something. I never connected when I was moving second. He's like, let's do it again. And so we ran it again, and I did like 20 more trials. Sure enough, eventually I hit Fissure moving second. So it's possible when you're speed tied, regardless, even if you move second and lose the speed tie on that turn, you can hit with Fissure.
Okay, interesting. I'm curious what the flow for the code is. Maybe it is equal to or greater than the speed, and then it allows it. Or I wonder if there's something else going on under the hood, where it's like separately checking. Like it does a speed tie comparison, and then it runs the speed tie again to determine who moves first. I'm curious. I'll look into it more after this.
Yeah, I thought that was really fascinating.
Yeah, if you have a speed tie, you can still hit with fissure.
And that was actually relevant because before I figured out the nuance with the Geodude playthrough where I was sneaking in the extra candy, I was ending up speed tied with that Sand Slash at the end, and I hadn't decided on Earthquake against it or Fissure. And so I was practicing with Fissure, and I actually did find that interaction there. So a little bit of trivia for the audience. Thought that was pretty neat.
So interesting. Yeah, I think that's amazing. Also, it's nice. I think you're going to outspeed everything on this team. You are. So that's a big difference from Geodude, which was moving second here. It's almost like the speed of battles has kind of inverted at this point in the run. We were talking a lot about how Onix is very slow in battles early into the run, but now it's feeling quite quick during this training because it has Earthquake and it has the speed, so it's not letting those opponents squeeze in 1 or 2 turns here and there. Whereas Geodude was constantly getting outsped. It was getting confused by like Golbats, things like that.
Yeah, things are kind of just lining up perfectly here for Onix, whereas Geodude was it was a little too slow, but then it was getting overkill, which doesn't help you, right? So its attack stat, the extra attack stat was not advantageous in this section.
Yeah, because if you can get it done with 45 attack, why would you need 80 for the later portions of the game? That's why. Might not need it here for the Rockets, but you're gonna need it later.
Yep.
So what's the goal level here?
Well, I'm going to tell you the goal level for, should we do Lorelei as the goal level? Okay. Cause I think that's what all this hinges on.
Yep.
If you had the guess, do you want to, or do you want me to just tell you? Maybe I feel like I'm making you play too many guessing games here.
I did scroll down in the route and look at it right before you asked me if I wanted to guess, so I can guess, but I will be right.
All right. Why don't you guess and we'll see.
It's level 55.
And that's a low level, isn't it?
It is very low.
Geodude, if you remember, was 67. So it may seem like we're doing a lot of self-training here, but realistically, we're about done with our optional training for the whole rest of the game. So all that extra training that Geodude did, like the Victory Road training and then the candy and oh my God, by the way, I have to talk about this. I accidentally overwrote Dig a little bit too early. I meant to overwrite Body Slam. And so this is a little bit ugly. I'm not proud of this. This is what I was alluding to earlier when I said that I taught moves too quickly. I think we got fascinated about the outspeed conversation while this happened, but I was meaning to give up Body Slam at this point, carry Dig for a while longer as it has utility in the mid game for like its field use, and I just made a mistake and accidentally overrode it. It was not a conscious decision. It was a finger issue. So here we go. Here we are. We have Body Slam still, even though we don't need it, and no Dig. So. Gonna have to do a little bit of finagling here.
I do think that people believe that Body Slam is better than it is in Generation 1. It's a good move, and it has a place in the game, but it tends to only be good from when you get it until around like Sylph, Erica, that kind of area. Mm-hmm. And then it really falls off because there are usually better options available. Dig, Earthquake, maybe some special moves like Ice Beam, something like that your Pokemon's using, Surf. Yep. So by that point, Body Slam is just not really hitting that hard, and you usually have a better option anyways. And then once you get to Giovanni, it becomes essentially useless for the remainder of the playthrough, unless you really need paralysis, like you're a fire type and you're trying to paralyze the Gyarados at the end, or you're an electric type, you're trying to paralyze the Sand Slash at the end. If you're not going for one of those strategies, Body Slam is like almost useless.
Yeah, I remember even with Snorlax, you'd think you definitely keep Body Slam, but I think we were running a special set plus Earthquake, because Earthquake is 200 effective power against poison types, right? Missed that trainer. Here you can see a little bit of sloppiness I was talking about earlier, where I didn't dedicate as many playthroughs. I think this is my 4th Onix, like full Onix playthrough. So I haven't quite internalized the route as well as I had with Geodude. And part of that's just because it's not quite as much fun to play. Not to say I wasn't trying really hard with Onix. I was, and I wanted a good result. And I was actually really happy with the result that I got. So I don't want to give the audience the wrong impression, but I do want to be transparent on the front end. Like, hey, if you're seeing some sloppiness here and you're like, hey, maybe that's not fair, well, keep in mind, if I thought this was an easy PB to beat, then I would have gone back to beat it.
Yeah, 5 candies before Koga.
Yeah.
Which, to me, if I didn't know the level for Lorelei, I would have been blown away by, because it seems like this is coming too early into the playthrough.
I agree. Onix has that luxury, right? We've already used 2 rare candies early for Misty, and now we're using 5 rare candies for Koga. That would be irresponsible to do with Geodude.
You would get a terrible time. You'd have to grind in Victory Road late into the game to get levels.
It'd be awful. You see, I just bought escape ropes there. That wasn't part of the routing.
I do want to mention during Koga, because I said that I thought that Koga could go for double team because it wouldn't get deprioritized. Double team does get deprioritized. The AI is looking for an alternative move that does at least neutral damage. That is a damaging move. So if it finds an alternative, like another, let's say it finds a move that does neutral damage, but it's not a damaging move, then it will randomize. It will still be able to use double team. But if it finds an alternative that is a damage dealing move, then it deprioritizes double team. So the Venomoth cannot actually use double team or toxic, because toxic is technically resisted by a rock type. So Venomoth is locked into either leech life or psychic for these 2 runs.
Psychic, of course, would do massive damage. Leech life, not so much, because it hits physically and it's low base power. So I want to mention, by the way, look at Onix pulling away again. So we're seeing an interesting give and take here, where the early game, like through Brock, was much faster because we skipped optionals. And then we lost a ton of time because all those trainers were slow. And then we skipped optionals again, and now we've gained time again, right? So there's kind of a back and forth tug.
Also, faster battles in this section of the game.
So
it's like the tension between when the speed for Onix, speed stat in this section of the game, giving faster battles, and then Mega Punch giving faster battles for Geodude early on. It's really interesting. These 2 are a fantastic comparison. I've actually planned a video for these 2 in Pokemon Emerald, because I really want to see how the gym leader Pokemon do.
You're doing Geodude against Onix and Emerald?
Yeah, but with one other Pokemon.
It's Nose Pass.
it's Nose Pass. So I'm struggling to get motivation to play the runs, though. But I do think it's an interesting comparison again, though, because I don't think it's immediately clear which Pokemon is better in all the different points of the game. Although I do think Geodude's going to be much worse there, because its speed stat is awful.
I had to pause there for a second and remember if I had Squirtle or Lapras. I, in fact, do have Squirtle, and so I needed to teach Surf and Strength in that order. By the way, Onix is, I wanted to talk about earlier, like level 49 already, and we're going for level 55 for Lorelei. So we're on minimum battles, I think, from here on out. We kind of already did it. And we're picking up a couple vitamins to help us out, because funny enough, I think it's really interesting mirror between Geodude and Onix, where we keep picking up proteins for damage ranges for Onix offensively, which is important, by the way, for Blaine, for Koga, and for Alakazam on the champions team, believe it or not. Whereas Geodude was picking up Carbos to answer all the questions. We're always picking up
sunk
protein.
In. It's like rock ground type. Oh, we need better damage ranges against the frail psychic type. Yes.
Scott,
it's not very good.
More ridiculous than you think. It's more ridiculous than you think. So after we knock out the Sandslash, we're going to spend a turn badge boosting to outspeed the Alakazam. And after the badge boost, we're going to have a range to one-shot the Alakazam with Earthquake.
Let's go. Good job, Onix.
And the proteins help with that.
Yeah.
The proteins help in a number of these fights.
Just like Geodude, we can lose to Blaine.
Yes. Although we're already at 117 speed, so we're going to take fewer turns to set up to outspeed the Pokemon. So that is quite nice.
Okay.
And we're just accepting
Yeah.
a 2-shot on the Arcanine. We're not going to try the setup for a 1-shot against it.
Yeah. Arcanine is intimidating. That's a Gen 3 joke for all of
Ah, I see what you did there.
Oh, reflect.
Yeah, in this case, not too bad.
No, sometimes Blaine throws. Also, the time now has swung back closer. The Blaine split, only 31 seconds apart. Onix in the lead.
Yes. Some of that could be ordering, and some of it is the escape ropes, to be honest. But yes, we are not fighting quite as fast.
Yeah, there was also some like bag messiness around the calcium,
Yeah.
which I think could have been eliminated.
Oh yeah, the calcium, by the way, was for the Alakazam. For
Right.
defensive ranges against the champion's
Amazing.
Alakazam. This is not good, by the way.
Yeah, whenever you get hit by Sand Attack, this battle starts feeling less and less good because then you have to hit the cloister and not get clamped like that.
Did you see how much the clamp did? It never hit twice, Scott. It never
Yeah.
hit twice. That was all one clamp hit.
Yeah. One hit from clamp does 50 to 59% to Onix. That's
But
one hit, so it's going to hit twice if it actually does make contact with Onix.
Yeah, and we're forced to set up. Thankfully, with one accuracy drop, we do hit, but we're forced to set up there because we don't have the damage ranges with Rock Slide. Even super effective Rock Slide, we don't have the damage ranges until we set up, and it's still getting sketchy here.
Yeah, this...
We're out
Oh,
of
no.
Earthquake PP. Rock Slide. Yes.
No way. They have the same Rival 5 split?
You couldn't write it up better.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Okay.
Actually,
Okay,
this is
but
the second run in a row that's converged at Rival 5, right? Just like Gyarados.
okay, so I think some people might think that Onix has won now, and I'm going to set everyone's expectations and say maybe only if Onix has the same degree of consistency against Lorelei. But if Onix is less consistent against Lorelei, then it could get stuck against her and bleed a bunch of time that Geodude isn't going to bleed.
Yeah, so Geodude invested time in order to have the damage ranges that it need to defeat Lorelei admirably, like with honor. I think it's time to share what my strategy is to
Okay.
defeat Lorelei. You ready for this?
I'm ready for it.
I think everyone's already guessed it, but we're hitting Fissure. Not just on one or two Pokemon. We're fissuring her entire team except for Jinx.
Amazing. Can Onix actually one-shot the Jinx with Rock Slide?
Yes, with a caveat. If we get Aurora, we could survive an Aurora Beam, right?
Yeah.
At the beginning with Jinx, with Dugong. So it's like, hey, if we survive one hit, that gives us a couple chances to use Fissure, right? So maybe that improves our odds a little bit. But if the Aurora Beam gets the 30% chance to attack drop, then we have to Fissure the Jinx too.
33% chance.
Good
1 in
correction.
3.
Thank you. Yes, the 1 in 3.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's technically not exactly 1 in 3, but it's closer to 1 in 3.
I accept the
correction. It's actually X over 255. Like, okay, yes.
Yep. That's going to be Smash Math.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking of Smash Math. Like he'll have the exact fraction.
Yeah.
But yeah. It's like the AI is not exactly evenly weighted on all of their moves. There is a slight bias towards certain spots because anyways. Game Boy stuff.
Oh, fissured.
What's Onix's speed? 124. So it's slower than the Doug Trio and the Persian. Persian's not a threat, but Doug Trio is, as you can see here.
Yeah, we're like fast, but we're not that fast. Oh my god, you see that? We didn't one-shot it after Bad Boost.
So like Onix is on minimum battles plus resets. I understand now.
Yes.
It's like it might be going through all the trainers without fighting optional people, but it still is taking resets here.
Yes. Geodude invests time into training. Onix invests time into trying over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah. But okay, it wasn't that bad. Giovanni wasn't that bad.
No.
And we're only at 4 resets, but Lorelei, it's going to be worse than 4 resets. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I think some people... Oh, yeah. Your bag was too full, so you had to get the Fissure TM.
Yes, that was a good catch. That would have been a big mistake if I had run without the Fissure TM.
It'd be so painful to walk into Lorelei's chamber and then realize you don't have the Fissure TM.
Yeah, by the way, I made a mistake, or I'm going to make a mistake here that's almost invisible after Rival 6. We'll talk about it.
Okay, let me see if I can catch it.
Okay.
I want to see if I can figure it out.
This fight is okay. Like we talked about before, the Sand Slash is not very scary. So you notice I just leveled up. We can just kind of set up Hardens until we have the damage ranges we need. Rival 6 is pretty trivial for both these Pokemon.
Also, Poison Sting missing here because of the defense setup. So it's doubly resisted and it's rounding down to 1.
Yeah, now even with the badge boost, we couldn't one-shot the Execute, so we still could lose to Paralysis there. But if that doesn't happen, then we're fine.
Wait, say that again?
We didn't one-shot the Execute. Yeah. Even with the badge boost, because Earthquake is resisted, it doesn't quite have the damage it needs.
Yeah.
So
someone is gonna say that you should Rock Slide it.
Mm-hmm.
I know that.
Are they going to be right?
Why? No, they're not going to be right. No, they're not going to be right. It's actually a higher chance to hit with Earthquake than it is with Rock Slide.
Because of accuracy.
11%.
Yeah.
Yep, because of accuracy. 81% chance on Rock Slide, 92.9 on Earthquake.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's just terrible attack stat. It is what it is.
It's really brutal.
Yep. All right, skill check.
Can you do it? Yeah.
I was a little scared. You can see. I was a little scared, but we'll give that a B. We'll give it a B.
I wasn't paying attention. Did either of the ledges get you in this one?
Neither ledge, neither rock. We are killing the environment. We're doing
this
great.
is amazing.
Yeah, we're like a pollutant.
You have definitely leveled up since last time.
Yes. I am pushing the rocks with more confidence here. You can see this is like going pretty well.
To level 55, so no trainers in Victory Road. These people are fairly efficient, but if you don't need them, it's best to skip them.
By the way, Lorelei odds, I'd say I need to run the math again. I'll double check it before I post, but I think it's somewhere between 3 and 5% to beat Lorelei.
It's pretty bad.
Pretty bad. Hey, okay, editor David here. I don't think I did proper justice to it in the voiceover with Scott because it was a little bit rushed. So I want to go over the math so you understand exactly what Onix is up against with Lorelei using this all fissure or at least primarily fissure strategy against Lorelei. Now, starting off, I think we want to understand that there are 2 branches here. And it's very significant if we hit the initial fissure against Dugong or if we don't. If we do hit the initial fissure against Dugong, of course, that's going to give us higher chances of success. That's a 30% chance of success against the Dugong. And then I estimated the win percentages against each Pokemon. 30% for Dugong, 33% against Cloyster, because of course it can miss Clamp. Our chances are a little higher. Against Slowbro, believe it or not, we have about a 2 out of 3 chance to get past it. That's because it does like to set up with withdrawal. Against Jinx, we have a 90% chance to get past it, only not getting past it if we miss a Rock Slide. And then against the final Lapras, another 33% chance, very similar to Cloyster, it could miss Blizzard or Hydro Pump. Okay, when you get all those cumulative percentages, you multiply 30% times 33% times 67.5% times 90% times 33%, you end up with a whopping cumulative success total of 1.985% or roughly 2% chance to win this way. Now, as rough as that is, we do get a little bit of a boost because we can potentially survive the first turn against Dugong. So now let's look at the win percentage chances if we don't hit that initial fork of fissuring the Dugong. Remember, it does have a little bit of randomness to its AI, so it can choose to do something else on turn 1, like takedown or rest, or it could even use Aurora Beam and we can tank that hit of course, if we tank the hit and it gives us an attack drop, we'll need to fissure the Jinx later in the fight too. So we're up against it here still, but even if we miss the initial fissure, we still have a 14% chance against the Dugong. The chances of fissure succeeding against Cloyster, Slowbro, and Lapras are the same. You'll notice that the win percentage chances here for Dugong, or for the Jinx rather, are only 72%. That's because of the attack drop possibilities, like I mentioned. So if there was an attack drop, we'd have to fissure it too, and that brings down the chances from 90% to 72%. Okay, so what happens? Oh, by the way, that is a cumulative success rate of just under 1%. So what happens when you add just under 2% and just under 1% together? Well, we have this combined chart of our combined success rate, 2.7% chance of beating Lorelei with Onix. It's rough out there for our boy Onix, but that's why we play the runs. We don't know what's going to happen. So if we even get to the Lapras, that means that we've already gotten like a 10% luck or something. Like it's asking a lot. I forgot to teach Fissure, so that's a very quick reset.
Yes. Is that the small mistake that you were saying?
No. Actually, I was supposed to pick up the Ether on the way, or else not use one of the elixirs earlier, because I've only got one elixir, and we're going to get moveset constraint near the end of this, which is pretty unfortunate.
That clamp did so much damage.
Yep, it was still rolling when I took the reset, and it hadn't hit twice yet.
I wonder if people, just intuitively, how much do you think one hit from clamp does to Onix? Think about it for a second, and I'll tell you the damage ranges in like, I don't know, 30 seconds. I can't imagine that you beat Lorelei very quickly here, so.
I don't.
Yeah. This is the case where I think we can settle this. If you were doing a tool assisted run, Onix is better.
Yeah. You don't need as much training.
Because you just win at this point.
Oh, rock slide? Scott, we made it to the Lapras already.
No way. Oh.
It's so close.
Blizzard's minimum roll is 162%. And to loop back around to clamp, it does between 84 and 99% with one hit. So it's going to hit twice. So if you see the Cloyster attack with clamp and it hits, might as well just reset.
So crazy. 90% with one hit.
99.
Oh, that's 3 fissures in a row again, Scott. Lapras?
Oh.
No, we got the miss. Oh, we got 2 rolls at it.
So you went 2 PP ups on fissure, right? Because it's 7 PP.
Yep. And I missed that at first too, which is possible to do it without, but this gives you more chances against Slowbro. So sometimes Slowbro will go for withdrawal on turn 1 and then force to withdraw on turn 2. So you actually do have a number of tries sometimes against Slowbro. That's why.
And like you said before, you can survive the Aurora Beam, so there are chances. And as we saw in the previous fight, the Lapras can miss Blizzard.
We're there again. We're there again.
Oh! Okay, so we come out of that split 2 minutes and 33 seconds ahead of Geodude.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm pretty confident. I think Onix is gonna win. Yeah. I'm happy with my prediction now. It always feels bad when you have to set up Harden on Bruno. Sorry, who?
Yeah, I still didn't one-shot it after all those set up because it used the next defend. And then I crit. Much and it's still not enough to one-shot.
Did you save before him?
So crazy. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because the Machamp can submission you too. It's scary. Look, we're 3 hitting it. Or 4 after next defend. It's so bad, Scott.
How much does the submission do? It does between 51 and 60%. 107% if it minimum if it crits.
Painful, Scott. I used the elixir there. I shouldn't have. I wasn't totally depleted yet, and I'm pretty sure I could have made it through with rock slides. This was a mistake, and I saved after it. I no longer have PP restoring items left in my bag.
So this is the PP. Okay, so you have 27 moves for the rest of the game.
Yeah, which should be enough, but it gets a little scary.
60.
Mostly because of earthquakes. You want to use earthquake a lot. You know, like you want to earthquake for accuracy against, against the ghosts. for the one-shots too. I don't think you one-shot with Rock Slide. I wonder if you even two-shot with Rock Slide. Probably do, but you want to use Earthquake against the ghosts. You want to use... Oh! That was painful.
Yeah. Geodude being a higher level here because it has the same special stat as Onix, it takes less damage from all these Pokemon just because you're at the higher level.
Yeah.
So this fight is like less... Like the instability here for Onix is a little bit greater.
It also one-shots the Golbat instead of two-shotting it.
Yeah.
And then we level up into this Gengar, so we can't outspeed it with badge boosts either. So that's a little unfortunate. We lost a little bit of our time advantage there for the really slow reset at Agatha.
The two Gengar are not two hits with Rock Slide, but the Haunter is.
Okay. That makes sense.
Okay, I assume miss Hydro Pump here.
Yes, and we got the miss, but we also missed a Rock Slide, unfortunately. Now, this is really funny. Another time that this mirrors Geodude while being totally different. We outspeed... I forgot to use the candies, too. So, whoops. We outspeed, but we have to two-shot it or get a crit. Versus with Geodude, we're not outspeeding, but we have the range to one-shot. So, in either case, we're looking for the Hydro Miss.
Yeah, Rock Slide does not have a chance to flinch in Generation 1, just so you know. So there's no flinch upside here. If just flinch the Gyarados, then it doesn't move, you're good to go. Rock Slide would be a lot better in Gen 1 if it could flinch.
So I want to tell people what I'm thinking here. So while I'm trying the reset over and over again here, looking for the crit or the miss, I'm also thinking, okay, I'm going to set up on this next Dragonair, and then I'm going to have to preserve Earthquake PP to make it through the champion. So I'm going to set up and use Rock Slide against the Dragonairs after I have my badge boosts. So that's the strategy. And even if I get hit, it should have been fine, Scott. It should have been fine, but it was a crit because I boosted my special.
Yeah, the roll on Ice Beam's 54 to 64%. So
yeah, should have been totally fine. And now I'm playing the Gyarados lottery again. Frustrating.
I think this reminds me of Graveler when like the route we had leveled up into the Dragonair, and then like the Ice Beam did a lot of damage or something. There was some weird interaction there with the Dragonair with Ice Beam. At least he sends in his team in order, and then you can just set up on the first Dragonair.
We had
Gyarados.
We leveled up into it and had a favorable range. Did you see I fissured the Dragonair?
Yeah.
Because I'm just trying to save an Earthquake PP. And here we go. Okay, so now this should be fine. Yeah.
Nice.
We just needed to avoid being a miss and then Blizzard from the Dragonite. So here we go. Champion strategy. I mentioned it earlier, but we're going to fissure the Sand Slash. We're going to set up a Harden, and then Earthquake is an 80% range or so on the Alakazam.
Yeah. It's so bad that it's an 80% range after you set up. Psychic does between 65 and 76% damage, so the Alakazam cannot get a critical hit.
Yep.
Also, you were
Psychic
correct here,
does
it cannot use Recover.
Yeah, Psychic does massive damage there, but thankfully the Executor is only going to use Leech Seed.
Leech Seed,
I can't even believe that I'm saying this, but so this is why we really needed to hold on to Earthquake. Is I was kind of hoping to get through on full health, but I decided that the chances were too low, and so that's why I've taught Rest. The plan all along was Rest, but I chickened out because I was like, I don't know if I'm going to get through the champion with 5 Earthquakes. So I tried to hold on to Rock Slide, and I decided we can't do that. So this is kind of, you can understand why the mistake happens, but it's kind of a painful compounding mistake not having the PP restoring item. There we missed the range. Yeah.
It's painful.
But we hit a
Also,
fissure through the accuracy drop, so I'm going for it. I'm just going for it.
Yeah, Kinesis does affect accuracy in Generation 1. Accuracy and one-hit KO moves get decoupled later into the series. I forget if it's Gen 2 or Gen 3. But
importantly here, Scott, I just want to jump in here real quick. What I'm doing, I'm trying to set up additional hardens for even more badge boosts because we have to one-shot the Cloyster with Earthquake. To do that, we need more than +6. We need it to screech us a couple times, and then we get back up to +6 with Harden again. So we're going for like 500 something attack is the threshold. Now we're over 500 attack. Now we can Earthquake one-shot the Cloyster, but we're down to 2 Earthquakes. So I'm switching to Fissure, and we only have 2 Earthquakes left. These both have to hit, Scott. One down.
Nice.
2 down.
Okay. 4 seconds faster than Geodude. 57-31, 23 resets, level 64. Yeah, this was way closer than I thought it would be. Because I was thinking like a 56-minute time for Onix. Like 56:50.
Yeah, and in fairness, I made enough mistakes in this playthrough that you can see a clear path to like a 56-minute run for Onix. So I'd say of the two of them, Onix definitely has room to push these times down further. I thought this was already a pretty darn good time for Onix, and it may have looked like Lorelei was not that bad because you saw a Lorelei that didn't take that long, right? The Giovanni split was 45 minutes, and then the Lorelei split was 50 minutes and 40 seconds. So that's pretty good. There's only 5 minutes in between there, right? And you saw me get to Lorelei's final Pokemon, the Lapras, like 3 times in a pretty quick succession, and I got the Fissure and it worked. And it looks like, oh, that's how things happen, right? I'm telling you, like, I sometimes spent like 15 minutes. Like one of my playthroughs was a 15 minutes at Lorelei before I got past her. Just missing Fissures over and over again. So while Onix can push lower than this, I think if I played Geodude and Onix both 10 times, I think Geodude's probably faster 6 or 7 times out of those 10.
Okay, interesting. But I think in terms of peak potential, Onix is definitely going to be faster than Geodude.
Yeah, and you can see that in the in-game times too. I think it's about 10 minutes faster in in-game time, and I think I played Geodude much cleaner. So I think the in-game time for Onix can go down even further. So it's very clear if you play these both 10 times, Onix should get the best time. But I also think that Geodude, on average, if you just play it once, is more likely to win. So in a tier list like mine, I think this is good enough for now. Definitely, I think Onix is the deserving winner in this kind of a format. In a one-off format, not so sure. I think it's probably Geodude.
If we were going to race with these two Pokemon, which one would you want?
Oh, like a Mew race type format? Onix, definitely.
Like we're going to sit down, we're going to stream it.
Oh, I'd rather play Geodude. I think it's more fun to play with, and I think it's more consistent. So, I'm channeling my inner Scott here. Are you happy to see this? I'm like, give me the consistent Pokemon.
I know. For me, that's like the format, the solo challenge format. It really feels like a casual speedrun format. So for me, it's like when it feels like the Pokemon is something that someone who's sort of okay and like acquainted with the games, they just sit down on a Sunday and they play it and they get a good result. That feels like a really good performance. Whereas when it gets really inconsistent, we have to use Fissure everywhere, then I'm like, this gets a little bit more frustrating because it's starting to get into that territory of you've got to really commit weeks of time to get a good result with the Pokemon.
Yep. And let's talk about where they are in the tier list. They both slot in the F tier, just a little bit better than Hitmonchan, which I think is about right. I think Onix and Geodude, unfortunately, for fully evolved Pokemon in Gen 1, they both struggle quite a bit, but with some work, they can get sub-hour or maybe even sub-55 if you really grinded them. But I think that's about the right spot for them. I think you'd have to do a lot of work to get them in the E tier, so I think this is pretty much where they fit.
Yeah, seems about right to me. Hitmonchan is, as far as fully evolved Pokemon go, it's one of the worst.
And Geodude, respectable performance for a very slow first stage Pokemon. I think it's doing quite well to finish in the F tier here. I think that's pretty respectable.
Yeah. The question just came into my mind now, though. What about Rhyhorn?
Oh, Scott, why? Don't make me run Rhyhorn.